107.1 FM. If you can hear us in White on W93.5 around the world, streaming live on 3news.com. Download the TuneIn app from the Google Play or Apple iOS store and listen to us on the go. Coming up this afternoon, headquarters of the opposition NDC awash with paraphernalia of former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo, who picked his form earlier today to contest the flag bearership race of the party. We'll take you to his campaign offices and tell you also which constituencies you should keep an eye on ahead of the party's primaries on your election command center. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayo, has picked forms to contest the parliamentary position for the Lambusi constituency on the ticket of the NDC. We have details for you as well. And later this afternoon, Health Minister Kwekwajiman Menu expected before Health Committee of Parliament over widespread shortage of essential vaccines in the country. We get details plus touch base across the country to find out the impact of the situation. We have details of these stories and a lot more if you stay with us for the next 30 minutes. A pleasure that you could be a part of this afternoon's bulletin. It's streaming live on Facebook, the handle 3FM 927, as well as on our various social media handles. I am Eric Mawina Egbeta. And so sounds from the NDC's headquarters when former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo followed up on his intention to lead the largest opposition party, the NDC, come election 2024 after forms were picked for him to contest the party's presidential primaries, led by the Ashanti Regional Women's Organizer Gloria, who said nearly 100 people thronged the offices of the NDC amidst noise making and wielding placards and party paraphernalia. Shortly, we'll connect with my colleague Noble Crosby Annan, who has been following up on the developments there, and he'll provide some details as to exactly what's been happening. But as you know, the race to represent the NDC, particularly on the parliamentary front, would be a highly sought after job as a party has opened nominations already. Surprise names have sprung up in the contest, even ahead of vetting and the likes. My colleague Komla Adom, he's joining me in studio with details of some of the surprises, and a big one came through just a short while ago. Dr. Titus Bayo all but confirming that he's picked forms to contest for the Lambushi seat on the ticket of the NDC. Komla, walk us through the statement which accompanied that declaration, if you can call it that.
Mawina, so this came through the last few minutes, and Titus Bayo, we know, used to be former Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, contested elections, became the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. He is by profession a consultant gynecologist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He is also a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. And so Dr. Titus Bayo is, I'm sure, is a household name also because during the height of COVID-19, Dr. Titus Bayo was one of the key resources, media houses, we're relying on for information about the medical association's next steps forward, how they were managing COVID, etc. And so in this statement, he says, upon reflection and intense consideration, he decided to submit his name to be representative of the people of Lambushi at the constituency level because per this statement, he is going to bring a lot more on board, and he has taken this decision as a result of a lot of consultation and reflection. Many people had called on him to take a step further in a bigger capacity to represent the people, and he says he is duly obliging and he's going to do this. He's seeking the mandates of the NDC party and the elected representatives to lead the party in the 2024 parliamentary elections, to wrestle the parliamentary seats from the NPP and contribute to the development agenda of the next NDC government. And he says he's fully persuaded that the social democratic governance of the NDC holds a key to the alleviation of extreme poverty, provision of healthcare to all, restoration of the economy, and above all, ensuring fairness and equity in the distribution of the national cake. Now, some people are saying this particular revelation that has just come is surprising, because then he will be taking a step further, moving away from what we know as a medical profession, being in the theaters and doing all the surgeries, to now taking an active role in partisan politics. Many people are not too sure how it will play out, but they say for the personality of Dr. Titus Bayo, he's good enough a representative for the people. However, they do not know whether he's going to be able to do the balancing act with medical profession together with this particular job. And if you may, I could also run by you, Dr. Kwabena Dufo Jr.
His dad is seeking to lead the NDC as its presidential candidate, and he's but Kamala, let's just hold the line quickly, because the indication I get is that Dr. Titus Bayo has joined us on the telephone line for a conversation. Many thanks, Doc. A bit surprising, taking quite a number of people by surprise, this decision to want to contest on the ticket of the NDC as the parliamentary candidate for Lambushi constituency. Walk us through what's been the thinking process to arrive at this particular decision.
Good afternoon, Marina, and good afternoon to your listeners. Well, it's been long in coming. I'm a native of this district. I grew up there. This is a very deprived district, and I've been there. That's where my family is. And I've had to take this decision, but it's been difficult. I've been thinking through it, praying about it, discussing with family. But the calls from our chiefs and people at some point, I just had to respond to it. And just like His Excellency, the former president, said, a lot of us shy away from politics. We sit on the fence and we say we don't want to get involved. But when things don't go well, we are all affected. When you visit this district, you will notice that it is perhaps the only district in Ghana, I don't know of other districts, that doesn't have any tarred road at all. In the BEC results for last year, they were last in the region. Out of 11 districts, only 6% of the students passed. And when I visit these communities, I ask myself, if I were growing up there today, could I become a medical doctor? And I've been doing a lot of activities, outreaches, supply medical equipment to the district just to help. But I think what the district needs now is some kind of leadership of advocacy. And it is the reason why I have decided to quit my job as General Secretary of the Medical Association and take up this task to help my people.
But why on the ticket of the NDC?
Interesting. Question will be, why not? I think the NDC offers the best alternative, in my opinion, to holistic development of this country. If you've lived long enough in this country, you can see the track record of the major political parties that have helped the development of this country. The social democratic principles of the NDC stand tall. And if you come from deprived, underserved districts like mine, you will notice that you can easily associate with the NDC. The NDC thinks about everybody, distributing the national resources equitably. Not a few people owning properties in multiples of them while the rest suffer. I visited a village in the district called Tayagri, and when I was just talking with the women, they just told me that, doctor, when a woman is in labor in this community, we are surrounded by rivers, and we cannot cross either of them. There's a long path that we have to go to send one person to the next facility. This community doesn't even have a chief compound. Their kids cannot go to school until they are about 5 years because of the distance. And which government provided so many chief compounds in this country? It's the NDC. It was the NDC that cut salaries of its appointees and used it to build chief compounds.
Right.
If, as a medical doctor, this should touch me immediately. Look at the records of the NDC in health. Look at the records of NDC in other areas. Yes, the NPP is doing its bit. I would not say they haven't done anything at all. But if I were to choose between the two, I have chosen the NDC.
Right.
And on any day, I will choose the NDC because I think they offer a more holistic approach to development, and it will benefit my people.
Just finally, your response to individuals and persons who've expressed disappointment, I use that word advisedly, as to you coming out to want to contest and go partisan. There are those who have made the argument that it presupposes that in all of your commentary in the past, you were a card-bearing member of the NDC and they are disappointed. How would you respond to some of these comments?
All right. So I would rather ask that anybody who has evidence that in my previous commentary, I have not been professional, impartial, fair to anybody should bring that out. I have discharged my duties as a medical doctor professionally, as a union leader professionally. During the erstwhile government of the NDC, under His Excellency President Mills and Mahama, the GMA went on strike. I spoke our mind, and I spoke the mind of the GMA. In fact, there are people in the NDC who are equally surprised to think that I am a member of the party because I stand for fairness, I stand on principle. And if it is wrong yesterday, it must be wrong today. And so I have discharged my current role or past role in that manner. And so I don't think that that even comes into question at all. I haven't been unfair to any particular government, and the present government has offered technical assistance to the government to help us all out of the crisis.
Right.
When we had COVID, I did not sit aloof or take a position, let's join in a way that the government will fail. No, because I know that it is our collective responsibility to build the state. And so I dispatch my duties in that manner. And so I don't think that should come in at all.
Right then, Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon.
Most welcome.
And all the best. That's Dr. Titus Bayu. Now we can say he's a former General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. My colleague Komla Adom is still in studio with me. So we're just about talking in relation to Dr. Kwabena Duffuor Jr.'s Dr. Kwabena Duffuor's son, who's also contesting in Setra Front Plains.
And before I go to that quickly, let me just conclude on Dr. Titus Bayu. He says he has since submitted a letter to the Ghana Medical Association to resign from his current position as a General Secretary of the association, which he says he has faithfully served over the last decade. Now let's move to Dr. Kwabena Duffuor Jr. As you mentioned, his father is seeking to lead the country as president on the ticket of the NDC as flag bearer, and he also is seeking to contest the Setra Afram Plains constituency as a member of parliament. And those of you who are familiar with Dr. Kwabena Duffuor Jr., you know that he is a banker, he is a former chief executive officer of Unibank, and he has been a leader in the business space. People think of him as a thought leader in the business space, leading many enterprises, taking some of them to greater heights, some of them not doing so well. But he overall is an astute businessman who they think can be able to lead the Setra Farm Plains area to the heights that they seek to achieve in the next few years. But then he will have to contend with the current MP for the area, who is Alex Adomako Mensah. It's supposed to be a kingly one. If you keep an eye on this constituency, a lot of fallouts will happen there.
Right, and that's my colleague Komla Adom, and he mentions constituencies that we'll keep keen eyes on. We'll get on to that shortly, but we're taking you to the campaign offices of Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, where he's also expected to any moment from now begin addressing the media. Let's take you there, where my colleague Noble Crosby-Annan is on standby for, and get details. We'll do that shortly, but like I mentioned, some constituencies to look out for, one of which is Asawase, where there's been brewing controversy. In the last few weeks, the leadership of the NDC was forced to make a trip there to calm tempers. Well, the organizer of the party, Joshua Yamin, has been speaking to my colleague William Evans Inkum as to whether or not the tension simmering there could pose a threat for the party.
Well, I'm not sure it's about affecting the fortunes of the constituency, because the member of parliament in question is still a member of parliament. And if he still wants to be a member of parliament, he will have to do his best to maintain the seat, which will be for himself as a person and the party as a whole. And so I'm not sure when he was coming to parliament, he had the ambition of becoming a leader of the house. For that matter, if he's not there, it means that his level of commitment will go down. No.
That's Joseph Yamin. He is the national organizer of the opposition National Democratic Congress, and will stay within the NDC because former President John Dramani Mahama, he's appealed to his former appointees to come out of retirement and join him in the fight to reclaim power in 2024. And Mr. Mahama is seeking re-election to lead the NDC into the 2024 presidential election. So on Wednesday, a team of supporters picked nomination forms on his behalf. Now, speaking to the former appointees in Accra, the former president asked his comrades to put their shoulders together to the wheel to help the NDC rescue the Ghanaian economy.
Their performance has been abysmal, but as I say, we should not win the election just on the back of their abysmal performance. We should let Ghanaians know that MDC has always been the better alternative that they probably did not appreciate as much. And today, we're where we are. Why I called you here today is that you've all served with integrity. And I know what many of you are going through. Life is difficult for you. You did not steal money. You earned the money you were given. And today things are tough. Inflation is 54%. And now that all of you are grown up, I'm sure the geriatric nurses are catching up with us. The cost of medicine alone is not easy. And so, are we going to sit down and watch our life's work flush down the drain? When we have children, we have grandchildren that we need to sacrifice for. And so even though you might be in retirement, I'm urging you to put those walking sticks down and come out of retirement, because this is something we must do together.
That's the former President John Dramani Mahama, who's seeking to be elected again. Let's take you to the headquarters of Dr. Kwabena Dufour's election office because he's speaking.
That's my bad. As a mark to Ghana, if you get Ghana for soon, I will walk the Akumamu. And so the Canada tell you, boy, a power, you'll be here. Other than soon. Other than soon. If you drink a woman, then you got a no Seattle. Not Ghana for 3. Ghana fire, or Bruce, or from not taking a baby, I paid my Adobe. Go Bruce, Ghana, Ghana, we near Rob, and then, and to say. That's super pussy. I share. We Ghana protest and me shine. Now, this is a man. I did a year. If any adults, Yana Sabi, Yemi, you beer, no matter because you only be no his car or Marcos. You will be that who was sad, and therefore. It's a gun to buy him. You see, what the fuck's happening? The feeling. The not contesting, then. We are constituency. What we do now, our mind is so. We are back. Then you see it's any pain in the year. I think I feel on planets.
So that's Dr. Kwabena Dufo has been speaking in the local dialect tree, explaining essentially that Ghanaians are feeling the economic crunch. Ghana is in crisis. That's not supposed to be, because we have enough abundant natural resources to ensure that we don't continue to suffer. And that he's going to be contesting and doing it very strongly because he wants to be the one to lead the party out of the current economic doldrums that we find ourselves in. Here on your Election Command Center, we'll be bringing you details as we continue, because Alan Chemanting, on the side of the governing New Patriotic Party as well, is visiting the Upper East region, and we'll bring you details subsequently. But let's do health now, because the Health Minister, Kwikwajiman Menu, is on Tuesday expected before Parliament Health Committee to answer questions over the unavailability of essential vaccines across the country. Concerns over the last few weeks have been raised from various parts of the country, including within the Ghana Health Service, over the lack of critical vaccines, which some experts alluded to the rise of measles cases in the northern part of the country. The concern now appears to have reached Parliament, where members are now demanding answers from the Health Minister. Dr. Sebastian Sandare is the MP for Tafiame Busa Isa, and he's joined us on phone with some more on this. Many thanks, Doc, for speaking to us this afternoon. And so it's come to the attention of the Health Committee now. How worrying is it that essential vaccines are not available at hospitals? I've had individuals talk to us about carrying babies to the hospital and expected to receive vaccines, but dates have been postponed because they were not readily available.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. My greetings to all your listeners. In fact, the issue of this widespread vaccine shortage in Ghana is a very serious and unacceptable situation. In fact, it is a human rights issue, because under our 1992 Constitution, every child under 5 must have access to vaccines and immunization services. And no child should be left behind. So it's worrying that we wake up to see ourselves in this situation. The question all of us are asking is, why and how did we get to this situation where our children cannot have access to essential vaccines? We are there because, you see, our vaccine or immunization services is highly donor dependent. And as a government, we have not been able to pay what we call our counterpart funding, because the donors would supply the vaccine, and these are just the Gavi, that is Global Alliance for Vaccine and Immunization, and then UNICEF. They get us the vaccine, but as a country, government is expected to take part of that funding. And over the years, government has not been able to do that. And that's why we find ourselves in this serious situation. And it's not just something that is happening. You see, what is dangerous is when people or the health system has gotten to a worrying situation where people cannot boldly disclose information, because the workers on the ground have been talking about this situation not this year,
right,
but more than a year or two. But managers would not take the warning signs and whatever that these workers complain about, and therefore that is where we are.
You've invited the health minister before Parliament. What would you be looking forward to in terms of hearing actions towards dealing with this particular situation? Because, as you've mentioned, it's worrying and it's what's currently on our hands.
Yes, it's the minister, and by extension, the government must solve this problem urgently. It is not one of those situations where excuses and reasons are given and we end it there. Look, already we are having measles outbreak because of lack of vaccine. Meaning all the, we have about 13 or so vaccine preventable diseases. And if the shortage is widespread, it means we'll begin to experience outbreaks of these child killer diseases. And we cannot sit and watch this government sit unconcerned for our children to die. That is not acceptable. So what we need and what must be done urgently is that, look, the government must provide these vaccines, wherever they'll get funding, whether it's appealing to the donor partners, wherever government must get funds to procure enough vaccines for our children. That is what we expect as Parliament and as the representatives of the people. So the minister must appear before the Health Committee and probably even beyond, because as Parliament, we need answers why there are no vaccines for our children in this country.
Right then, Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon.
It's a pleasure, bro. That's
Dr. Sebastian Sandare. He's a member of the Health Committee of Parliament and MP for Tafiama Pusi Isa constituency. Was staying just a while longer on health because Ghanaian medical students in Cuba on government scholarship, they haven't received their $250 stipend for the past 7 months. The students lament over the situation, which they say is making life difficult for them. Leader of one of them, who spoke to Johnny Hughes on Sunrise on condition of anonymity, says the over 100 students are living in hell.
Currently, we are living in hell. Why do I say that?
Tell me.
You have to borrow money. You have to borrow money from other people before you survive. And if I borrow money from you and I come back again, naturally you're not going to give me because I've not paid back the earlier one I borrowed. Other people are now engaging, now have young friends who have enough money to help them out in this current dispensation. I myself am sad. I'm going out with a lady who comes from a good home, and she's basically the one taking care of me at the moment. I know about 15 other people, and I'm sure there are more that I don't even know of. So assuming the money does not come this month, then it means if there is a place behind hell, that's where you will be. You will be in absolute distress. You're already depressed. Our economy is going to deteriorate. The worst is going to happen to the over 100 Ghanaian students in Cuba on the tickets of Ghana's scholarship experience.
So that's one of the leaders of the students speaking to Johnny Hughes on Sunrise on the condition of anonymity. We just end with government's gold for oil policy as my colleague Della Michelle gets ready to bring us the very latest from the world of business, and something special about Della today. But contrary to expectation that government's gold for oil policy would lead to